They called her defective and barren at her own wedding, dragged her through the streets in a torn dress while the city watched. But when she climbed into the Vampire King's carriage that rainy night, he whispered 6 words that changed everything.
Thank
You
you
are
all for
exactly
being
what I
here.
need.
This
In
moment means more
72
to me
hours,
than
the
words
woman
can
they threw
express.
away became the one thing that could save 2 kingdoms. This is how she made them all. All kneel. The cathedral bells rang at 3 in the afternoon, not in celebration, in mourning. Seraphine stood at the altar in a dress that cost more than most families earned in a year. White silk, seed pearls, a veil so fine it looked like captured fog. Beautiful. Perfect. A cage made of thread and promises she never agreed to. The dress belonged to her stepmother's vision. The wedding belonged to her stepmother's plans. Even the groom, standing beside her with eyes like winter frost, belonged to someone else's design. Seraphine belonged to no one. Not anymore. Lord Dorian Gray stood tall, handsome in the way statues are handsome, cold, distant. His hand on hers felt like marble. No warmth, no kindness, just the weight of obligation and a contract signed 3 months ago without her consent. The priest droned through ancient words, words about unity, about obedience, about a woman leaving her father's house to enter her husband's control. Seraphine's hands shook. The bouquet of white roses trembled. In the front pew, her stepmother Morgana sat with a smile sharp as broken glass. Emerald dress, ruby necklace, victory written across her face. Behind that smile lived 2 years of manipulation. 2 years since Seraphine's father died. 2 years of Morgana draining the Ashford fortune while pretending to mourn. This wedding was the final move. Marry Seraphine off to Dorian, control both families' wealth, erase the last obstacle. The priest turned to Dorian. Do you accept this woman as your lawful wife? I do. Flat, emotionless, like accepting a business transaction. Then the priest turned to Seraphine. The cathedral held its breath. 300 guests, all waiting, all watching. Do you accept this man as your lawful husband? Seraphine looked at Dorian, saw her future in his cold eyes. Silent dinners, separate bedrooms, children she would bear alone, growing old in a house that would never be home. She looked at Morgana, saw triumph, saw greed, saw the woman who had spent 2 years calling her worthless, stupid, a burden on the family name. She looked at her reflection in the polished marble floor, saw a stranger in white, a ghost of the girl she used to be. Her voice came out smaller than she wanted, but clear, unmistakable. I cannot. Silence crashed through the cathedral like a wave. I will not. Morgana stood, fast, too fast, as if she had been waiting for this moment, planning for it. She refuses, Morgana's voice rang out, theatrical, rehearsed, because the physicians have declared her barren. She cannot give heirs. She cannot fulfill the most basic duty of a wife. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers ignited like wildfire. Seraphine's face burned. That's not... The medical reports confirm it. Morgana produced documents from her purse, waved them like weapons. Multiple doctors, all conclusive. She is defective, broken, and she hid this from Lord Dorian and his family. Lies, all lies, but the crowd believed. Why wouldn't they? Lady Morgana was respectable, wealthy, a pillar of society. Seraphine was just a girl in a white dress, 20 years old, powerless. Dorian's face twisted. Anger or performance, Seraphine couldn't tell. He grabbed her veil, yanked. The delicate lace tore with a sound like a scream. You wasted my time, he snarled, loud enough for everyone to hear. You deceived my family. You are worthless. He shoved her, not hard enough to knock her down, just hard enough to make her stumble, to show the crowd she was nothing. Morgana descended on her like a storm, grabbed Seraphine's arm, nails digging in. Drag her out, Morgana commanded the guards stationed at the doors. Let everyone see her shame. Let the city know what happens to girls who lie, who break contracts, who waste noble families' time with their defects. 2 guards seized Seraphine's arms. She tried to pull away, tried to speak, her voice drowned in the rising noise. The crowd turning, angry, judgmental. 300 witnesses to her humiliation. They pulled her down the aisle, her train caught on the steps, ripped, pearls scattered across marble like tears. The cathedral doors opened, rain poured from a sky gone dark. The crowd outside had been waiting for a celebration. Flower petals, cheers, rice thrown at a happy couple. Instead, they got a spectacle. Make way! Morgana walked behind the guards, behind Seraphine, voice projecting like an actress on stage. Make way for the defective bride, the barren girl who tried to trap a lord with knees. Hands pushed Seraphine forward, down the cathedral steps, into the street. Rain soaked through silk in seconds. The white dress turned gray, heavy, clinging. Someone threw a cabbage. It hit her shoulder, exploded into wet chunks. Someone else threw mud, then stones, not large enough to injure, just large enough to hurt, to mark, to make a point. Seraphine's knees buckled. The guards jerked her upright, kept dragging, through the square, past the fountain, down the main street where merchants and beggars and children all stopped to watch. Liar, defective, shameful. The words pelted her like the stones, each one a small violence, a tiny death. Morgana's voice rose above it all. This is what happens when you forget your place, when you reach above your station. She was lucky to be offered this match, and she threw it away with her lies. Seraphine's vision blurred. Rain or tears, she couldn't tell anymore. Her feet bled, the delicate wedding slippers never meant for cobblestones, for running, for this. They dragged her 3 blocks, past the merchant district, past the temple square, until finally Morgana raised her hand. Enough, leave her. The guards released her arms. Seraphine collapsed into a puddle, hands and knees on wet stone, hair plastered to her face, dress ruined, body shaking. Morgana leaned down, whispered so only Seraphine could hear. You have nothing, you are nothing, and now everyone knows it. Then louder for the crowd. Go home, child, if you can find anyone who will still take you in. Morgana turned, walked away, guards following, the crowd dispersing. Disappointed the show was over. Seraphine knelt in the rain, alone, public square emptying around her, the city moving on, already forgetting. Her hands curled into fists, nails biting palms. She had nothing. True, she was alone. True, but she was free. For the first time in 2 years, in 20 years, she was free. The thought burned through the cold, through the shame, through the pain. Free. She pushed herself up, legs shaking. The dress hung on her like a shroud. She grabbed the skirt, tore. The expensive silk ripped easier than she expected. She tore the train off, tore the sleeves, reduced it to something she could run in. Thunder rolled overhead, the storm intensifying. She needed shelter, needed somewhere Morgana's people wouldn't find her, somewhere she could think, plan, disappear. Seraphine ran, not back toward the cathedral, not toward the Ashford estate, toward the old district, the maze of narrow streets where the city forgot to put street lamps, where questions weren't asked. Her feet slapped against wet cobblestones. Every step agony, every breath fire in her lungs. She turned a corner, then another, lost herself in the labyrinth. Behind her, voices. Morgana had sent people after her. Of course, couldn't let Seraphine escape completely. Had to maintain control, had to... Seraphine skidded into a dead-end alley. No. Walls on 3 sides, only one way out, and footsteps echoing closer. Her heart hammered against her ribs, like a bird beating itself against cage bars. Then she saw it, at the far end of the alley, partially hidden in shadow. A carriage, black lacquer gleaming even in the rain, silver-edged wheels, gold patterns curling across the door like frozen vines. The horses stood perfectly still, not stamping, not snorting, just standing. Steam rising from their nostrils in calm white clouds. Too perfect, too clean, too impossible for this part of the city. Seraphine knew the stories. Everyone did. Children's tales, warnings whispered at bedtime. The Vampire King rode through the city only at night. His carriage gleamed like polished obsidian. Anyone foolish enough to step into it was never seen again. Mothers used his name to frighten misbehaving children. Be good, or the Vampire King will come for you. Seraphine had always thought vampires were metaphors, monsters standing in for real cruelty, real danger. But that carriage in that alley, real as the rain, real as her bleeding feet. The footsteps grew louder, voices calling her name, not friendly, not concerned, hunting. Seraphine ran to the carriage, grabbed the handle. The door opened, silent, smooth. Inside, darkness, warmth, the faint scent of old roses and something metallic. She didn't hesitate, climbed in, pulled the door shut behind her. Velvet seats, jewel-colored curtains over the windows, soft carpet underfoot. Luxury she had only dreamed of even in the Ashford mansion. Seraphine dropped to the floor, crawled under the nearest seat, her ruined dress bunching around her. She pressed her back into the shadows, held her breath. Outside, the voices reached into the alley. Check every door. She can't have gone far. Lady Morgana wants her found. Lantern light swept past the curtained windows. Seraphine covered her mouth with both hands, trying not to shake, not to breathe, not to exist. The carriage shifted slightly. Someone approaching. Footsteps. Slow, measured. Not the stomping boots of Morgana's guards. These steps were graceful, unhurried, as if their owner knew time would wait for him. The carriage door opened. Cold air rushed in, carrying rain, carrying the smell of storm-soaked metal, carrying something darker, older. A shadow fell across the velvet seats as a figure stepped inside. Tall, a heavy cloak whispering against the doorframe. The door closed, sound cutting to a muffled hum. For 3 heartbeats, nothing moved. Then the carriage began to roll forward, wheels turning. Horses moving, taking her away from the alley, from Morgana's guards, from everything. Seraphine waited, counting breaths, trying to understand what she had done. A soft chuckle drifted down from the seat above her, low, dry, slightly amused. You know, a voice said, calm and measured, most people try very hard not to get this close to me. The voice was not what she expected, not rough, not cruel. Tired, yes. Controlled, yes. Every word carrying the weight of someone who had lived far too long and learned to be careful with his tone. But the implications crashed through her mind. The stories, the warnings, the Vampire King. Seraphine stayed silent. Maybe if she didn't move, didn't breathe, he would think he imagined her. Maybe the figure shifted on the seat. His cloak fell close to her hiding place. You smell like fear, rain, candle smoke. A pause, and sugar frosting. Let me guess. Wedding? The word stabbed deeper than any of the stones thrown at her. Seraphine's control snapped. Please, she whispered before she could stop herself. Voice rough with tears. Don't send me back. Silence dropped again, different this time. Not the calm of a predator before a strike. The stillness of someone listening carefully, as if the right answer mattered. The man slowly leaned forward. A pale hand, elegant and unhurried, lifted the edge of the velvet seat. Seraphine found herself staring up into a face she had only heard about in terrified gossip. He was almost too perfect. Carved from moonlight and shadows. Silver hair fell over his shoulders in soft waves, framing skin that held no warmth. His eyes, deep wine in low light, studied her with curiosity and something gentler. There was power there, sharp as a blade, but also loneliness. Sadness settled so deep it had become part of him. Well, he said quietly, taking in her torn veil, the muddy hem, the red marks where panic had pressed her nails into her own palms. It seems the stories forgot to mention runaway brides. His mouth curved, not quite a smile, more like a private thought he was almost willing to share. Or how bad they are at choosing safe hiding places. Despite herself, a startled laugh escaped Seraphine, halfway between hysteria and real amusement. His eyes softened at the sound. In that moment, she felt something unexpected. Not terror, but the strange, shaky relief of being seen. Not as a problem to solve, not as a scandal to cover, as a person who was scared and trying anyway. I didn't choose, she murmured, voice trembling. I just ran. I didn't want to belong to him. To the groom? To anyone, she replied. The truth falling out like stones. I'm tired of people deciding my life while telling me I should be grateful. I just wanted one choice that was mine. He leaned back slightly, expression thoughtful. Outside, thunder rolled over the rooftops like distant applause. You know, he said, there are humans twice your age who never find the courage to say that out loud. They stay in cages and call them blessings. His voice held no judgment, only quiet knowledge. Running through a storm, in that dress, into my carriage. He paused. Very unwise, but very honest. Seraphine swallowed hard. Are you going to take me back? The question tasted like ash. She had climbed into the darkest carriage in the city, and still a part of her hoped someone, anyone would say, no, you deserve better. He looked at her for a long moment. Humans think I love obedience, he said softly. But the truth is I have watched centuries of forced smiles and broken hearts. I am very bored of chains, little runaway. His gaze flicked toward the curtained window, shapes moving outside. Unfortunately, the rest of your world is not. As if summoned, the carriage slowed. Voices rose outside, clearer now. A fist banged against the door. Open in the name of the king, a guard shouted, breathless. We're searching for a missing bride. She was seen in this district. Every muscle in Seraphine's body locked. Her throat tightened. Tears burned behind her eyes, the small moment of strange safety shattered, replaced by the sick weight of reality. If he gave her up, no one would question him. Who would argue with the Vampire King? Morgana would thank him. Dorian would drag her back. Everyone would tell her it was for her own good. He did not move at first. His eyes stayed on her face, noticing every tremor, every tear she forced back. Then slowly he reached out his hand, palm up, like an invitation rather than a command. Up close, his fingers looked almost fragile, but Seraphine could feel the power behind them. The kind of strength that could break or protect with the same ease. "You climbed into my carriage," he said quietly. "That is a kind of promise. The world outside that door thinks you are theirs to collect. I think you are a person who finally chose herself." Something in his voice shifted, from amusement to something solemn and fierce. "I do not return runaways to cages." Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. The guards hammered on the door again. "Open or we break it down." Lantern light leaked through the cracks, painting thin golden lines across his pale face. Seraphine stared at his hand. Trusting him went against everything she had been taught, but going back went against everything she had just discovered about herself. Fear told her to curl into a ball and surrender. A new trembling courage told her that sometimes the safest place is the one that scares you, if the person there sees your worth. He leaned closer. His voice dropping to a whisper meant only for her. "If you want your old life, speak now and I will open that door," he murmured. "But if you want another path, take my hand. Stay silent. Let me handle the monsters outside." The carriage door handle rattled violently, wood shuddering under the strikes. Seraphine's breath caught. She looked from the door to his outstretched hand, every heartbeat counting down to a choice no one could make for her anymore. With the guards shouting, the storm raging, and the whole world clawing at the carriage, Seraphine slowly lifted her shaking fingers toward his waiting hand. Her skin was about to touch his when the door latch snapped with a loud crack. Blinding lantern light exploded into the dark carriage. Light flooded in, turning every drop of rain on Seraphine's dress into sharp, glittering stars. The door slammed back against its hinges. Cold air shoved itself inside, carrying the smell of wet metal and angry men. For a heartbeat, she froze, fingers hovering just above his open hand, the space between them as thin as a choice not yet spoken. He moved first. With a smooth, unhurried motion, he caught her hand and drew her up from the floor as if they had planned this all along. Seraphine landed on the velvet seat beside him, his cloak folding around her like a dark curtain. His hand was cool, yes, but steady and strangely gentle, anchoring her trembling body as the guards' shadows filled the doorway. Steel helmets and dripping armor crowded the opening, lanterns held high behind them. Then another figure shoved forward. Morgana, hair plastered to her forehead by rain, fine clothes soaked and stained. Her eyes found the white dress and went wide with shock and outrage. "Seraphine," she barked, "what in the king's name are you doing in there? Come out this instant." No one said the other king's name, the one sitting inches from Seraphine, but the change in the guards was immediate. As their eyes adjusted, they truly saw who sat in the dim interior. The still, pale figure, his arm casually around the shoulders of the shaking bride. One by one, the men lowered their lanterns and bowed their heads, fear and respect tightening their faces. "Your Majesty," the captain stammered, rain dripping from his beard. "Forgive the intrusion. We were told a missing bride ran this way. We did not know this was your carriage." He tilted his head slightly, studying the cluster of men as though they were an unexpected play he had been forced to watch. "Clearly," he said lightly, "or you would have knocked more politely." His voice was calm, but the air seemed to thicken around each word, as if the night itself listened when he spoke. Morgana did not bow. Her fear showed only as a nervous twitch at the corner of her mouth. "Your Majesty," she began, forcing respect into her tone, "that girl is my daughter. She has run from a lawful marriage arranged for the good of our house. She belongs with her family and her future husband, not—" Her eyes flicked to his hand still resting on Seraphine's shoulder. Her jaw clenched. "Not here." His fingers tightened briefly, a quiet reminder that Seraphine was not alone. "Belong," he repeated, tasting the word as if it were unfamiliar. "Interesting choice." He turned his head slightly, looking down at Seraphine, not as an object of dispute, as if her opinion mattered more than all the shouting outside. "Tell me," he said, voice gentle enough that the guards had to strain to hear. "Do you wish to return, little runaway?" Seraphine's heart pounded painfully. Morgana's glare burned into her. "Think about your duty," Morgana snapped. "About your mother's name. About the honor you owe us. Honor, duty, gratitude, words that had always been used like chains wrapped in silk. Seraphine swallowed, feeling the weight of every expectation pressing on her chest. Then she glanced up at his profile, at the calm, patient way he waited. He was dangerous. He was everything she had been warned about. And yet in this moment, he was the only one asking what she wanted. Her voice came out, small but clear. No, I don't want to go back. The world seemed to hold its breath. Rain softened as if even the storm paused to listen. Morgana's face flushed a deep, furious red. You are confused, she said quickly, staring at him as if this had to be some trick. She does not know what she is saying. She is frightened. Return her and I will see that your kindness is remembered at court. His eyes chilled like a winter river. You think I trade in frightened daughters? He asked softly. I have seen more fear than your court could fit in all its halls. His tone never rose, but the steel in it made several guards shift uneasily. This human has spoken. I have heard. The captain cleared his throat nervously. Your Majesty, our orders. Your orders, he interrupted, do not outrank the ancient accords sealed between your crown and mine. He brushed an invisible speck of dust from his sleeve, as if the matter bored him. Any who step into my carriage seeking sanctuary fall under my protection until their will is fully known. You have heard her will. Morgana took a desperate step forward, rain splashing around her boots. She is my blood. She hissed. You cannot simply keep her. His gaze sharpened. For a heartbeat, the carriage felt like the center of a storm much older than the one outside. Listen carefully, he said. There is a difference between caring for blood and claiming it like property. I have no interest in stealing anyone's child, but I have even less interest in handing a human who has just found the courage to say no back to those who would punish her for it. One of the younger guards, eyes wide, whispered, But your Majesty, the groom is a powerful lord. There will be consequences if she disappears. He smiled then, just a thin, dangerous curve of the lips. There are always consequences when I am displeased, he murmured. Which concern you more, soldier? The guard swallowed, dropped his gaze, muttered, Yes, your Majesty, in shaky surrender. Morgana looked from face to face, realized slowly that no one would drag Seraphine out by force, not without starting something far worse than a family scandal. Her shoulders sagged, then stiffened with brittle pride. Fine, she said, voice cold. But know this, Seraphine. If you ride away tonight, do not expect the door of our house to open for you again. Seraphine's chest ached, but the ache was clean, like a wound that had needed to be made. She met Morgana's eyes through the lantern light. Maybe one day you'll open it for the person I really am, she answered softly. Not just the daughter you wanted. That somehow broke Morgana more than any rebellion could have. She stepped back from the door as if it burned her. Close it, she rasped to the captain. Let the vampire king have his runaway. We'll see how long her bravery lasts. The captain hesitated, then obeyed. Embossered Busran. The heavy door swung inward. Just before it shut, a final gust of rain-scented air whipped through the carriage. The last thing Seraphine saw of her old life was Morgana's rigid back disappearing into the wet darkness, more alone than Seraphine had ever felt with her. The latch clicked into place. Silence fell like a blanket. Outside, the driver's whip cracked once. The carriage rolled forward, leaving the shouting, the bells, the wedding, all of it behind. Only when the city's sounds began to fade did Seraphine realize her hand was still locked in his. She jerked slightly, embarrassed, tried to pull away. He released her immediately, as if to prove his hold had been a shield, not a chain. You were shaking, he said quietly. Even the bravest hearts sometimes need something to hold on to. Seraphine wiped at her eyes, surprised to find tears there. I don't feel brave. I feel like I just jumped off a cliff and only then remembered I can't fly. That is what courage often feels like, he replied. The difference between foolishness and courage is what you do after the jump. He reached into a hidden compartment, pulled out a soft black cloth, handed it to her. Here, my carriages are not designed for crying brides, but I can improvise. A wet laugh escaped her. She pressed the cloth to her face, the fabric smelling faintly of spices and old parchment. Do you save many runaways? She asked, peeking over the edge of the cloth. Something unreadable flickered across his features. Not often, Baum, he said. Most humans only call for me when they want power, not freedom. You are a rare interruption. He looked out the small window, buildings growing sparer, replaced by open fields silvered by moonlight. And I confess I enjoy an interruption now and then. There was lightness in his words, but Seraphine heard the truth beneath. An eternity of nights that all looked the same, faces that blurred together, promises that rotted. For all his terrible reputation, he sounded quietly, deeply tired. "Thank you," she said. The words simple and small compared to what he had just risked. "You didn't have to help me. It would have been easier to send me back." "Easier, yes," he agreed. "But I have had enough of easy things that cost too much." His gaze returned to her. "And besides, watching someone choose themselves for the first time in their life is refreshing. It reminds even me that change is still possible." Outside, the road tilted upward. Through the window, dark shapes rose against the sky. Towers, walls, high arches carved from black stone that seemed to drink the starlight rather than reflect it. Tiny points of warm light glowed along the ramparts. Silhouettes moved with silent discipline. They were leaving the human city behind, entering his domain. Seraphine's fingers tightened around the edge of the seat. "Where are we going?" "To the only place I can keep my promise properly," he answered. "Shadowvale Citadel, my castle. Under my roof, the accords are even clearer. No one touches a guest of mine without consent." He paused, then added more softly, "Not even me." His words should have comforted her. In a way, they did. Yet another feeling rose beside relief, a new kind of fear, sharper, more complicated. "And what happens to guests?" she asked carefully, "once they're there?" He studied her, weighing what she was truly asking. "That depends," he said. "Some stay a night, recover their courage, return to the world stronger. Some stay longer, until they remember they are more than what others decided for them." He leaned back, the faintest smile touching his mouth again. "A few discover that the shadows hold their own kind of light." The carriage passed beneath a towering archway. Massive iron gates threaded with silver patterns began to open ahead with a slow, echoing groan. Moonlight slid over the stone walls, revealing carvings of ancient battles, lost kings, figures whose eyes seemed almost alive. As the shadows of Shadowvale Citadel closed around them, Seraphine gripped the cloth in her hands. Heart racing, she had escaped one life, but now stood at the threshold of another, where her choices would matter more than ever, and where this mysterious protector was both her guardian and the greatest mystery she had ever met. The carriage rolled into the courtyard. Torches flared to life as if welcoming their ruler home. He turned to her, face caught between the warm glow and the cool night. "Decide carefully," he said, voice low and serious. "The moment you step out of this carriage, my protection will remake your story. There will be no going back to who you were before." He held out his hand again. Not as a command this time, but as a question. With the gates closing behind them and the unknown opening ahead, Seraphine stared at that hand, feeling the weight of every possibility pressing on her chest. And for the second time that night, she had to choose whether to take it. She put her hand in his. He helped her down from the carriage as though she were made of glass, not mud and fear. The air here was different. Cool, clean, smelling of rain on stone and some distant garden flower. Torches flared to life along the walls as they crossed the courtyard, as if the castle itself recognized his return and his shaken guest. Servants and guards bowed. A woman with gray-streaked hair and kind eyes stepped forward. "Welcome, Your Majesty." Her gaze shifted to Seraphine, warm, understanding. "And welcome, guest." "Myra," he said. "She will stay in the North Tower. She is under my protection. No one questions her. No one pities her." Myra's eyes twinkled. "Of course, Your Majesty. We save pity for people who never dare to climb into your carriage." She offered her arm to Seraphine. "Come, dear. Let's get you warm and dry." Seraphine glanced back at him. He gave a small nod. Permission to go. Promised that she was safe. She followed Myra into the castle. Stone corridors, tapestries depicting battles between humans and creatures with fangs. But also scenes of peace, treaties signed, hands clasped. They climbed a spiral staircase. Myra chatting softly about the castle, about how long she had served here, about how rare it was to have a human guest. "You're the first in 25 years, Myra said, opening a heavy wooden door. The room beyond took Seraphine's breath away. A fire crackled in a stone fireplace. A four-poster bed draped in deep blue velvet. Bookshelves lining one wall. A writing desk by the window. Fresh clothes laid out. A tray of food waiting. It was more than the room she had at the Ashford estate. More than she had ever been given. "The bathroom is through there," Myra pointed. "Hot water, clean towels. Take your time. His Majesty said you've had quite a day." Seraphine's throat tightened. Why is he being so kind? Myra's expression softened. Because he remembers what it feels like to be trapped. And because he sees you, child. Really sees you. Not many people get that gift. She patted Seraphine's shoulder. Rest. Eat. You're safe here. Myra left, the door closing softly behind her. Alone at last, Seraphine sank onto the bed, half expecting to wake up back in the church. The groom waiting. Morgana's voice in her ear, but the only sound was the crackle of flames in the distant echo of the castle breathing. I did it, she whispered into the stillness. I actually said no. For the first time in years, no one was planning her tomorrow for her. She stood, walked to the bathroom. The tub was already filled, steam rising. She peeled off the ruined wedding dress, let it fall in a heap of mud and silk and broken dreams. She sank into the hot water, every muscle unclenching, the warmth reaching bones that had been cold for so long. When she finally climbed out, she found a simple nightgown waiting, soft, comfortable. She pulled it on, returned to the main room. The food smelled incredible. Soup, bread, cheese, fruit. She hadn't realized how hungry she was until she started eating. A note lay beside the tray, written in a sharp, elegant hand. Eat. I did not argue with an entire city just to have you faint in my hall. Rest well. Tomorrow we talk. Seraphine smiled despite herself. Set the note aside, finished every bite. Sleep came deep and heavy, for the first time in years, dreamless, peaceful, safe. When she woke, the sky outside her window glowed lavender with early evening. She sat up, disoriented, then remembered. The wedding, the escape, the carriage, the vampire king. It was real. All of it. A soft knock sounded at the door. Come in, Seraphine called. Myra entered with another tray. Good evening, dear. His Majesty thought you might be hungry. What time is it? Just past sunset, you slept the whole day. Your body needed it. Seraphine ate again, this time savoring each bite, strength returning. When she finished, Myra said, His Majesty would like to see you. If you're ready, no pressure. He said to take your time. Seraphine's heart skipped. But it wasn't fear. It was curiosity. He had saved her, protected her. She wanted to understand why. I'm ready. Myra led her through more corridors, down different stairs, to a library that made Seraphine gasp. Books, thousands of them, floor to ceiling, ancient and new, in languages she recognized and some she didn't. At the far end, by a window overlooking the valley, he stood. Without his carriage cloak, he looked less like a nightmare and more like a man carved from moonlight and long, quiet decisions. He turned when she entered. May I? He nodded toward a chair by the window. Seraphine blinked. You're asking? I do not cross a sanctuary without permission, he said simply. Then yes. He sat, studying her. How does the world look from this window? She joined him, looked out over the valley, the human city in the distance. Tiny lights. From here it looked peaceful, beautiful, like it hadn't tried to destroy her yesterday. Different, Seraphine admitted. I thought your castle would feel like a prison. It feels safe, and that scares me a little. I understand, he replied. When you have lived in cages, open doors feel like a trick. Silence rested between them, comfortable and strange. Why did you help me? She asked at last. You could have given me back, avoided trouble. His jaw tightened just a little. Once long ago, I watched someone walk into a life she did not choose, he said quietly. I stayed silent. I told myself it was not my place. He looked at her, really looked. I have regretted that silence longer than you have been alive. Since then, when someone reaches for my carriage with more courage than hope, I answer. Who was she? Seraphine asked. The one you didn't save? He was silent for a long moment. Then he stood, walked to a portrait on the wall. A woman with kind eyes and dark hair, the same shade as Seraphine's. Her name was Elise Ashford, he said, voice barely audible. Your grandmother. The world tilted. Seraphine reached for the wall, steadying herself. My grandmother died when my mother was very young. They never talked about how, just that it was tragic. It was, he said. 25 years ago, she ran from a forced marriage, just like you. She found my carriage. I was younger then, less wise. I thought following the rules mattered more than following my conscience. His hands clenched. I gave her back to her family. A week later, she was dead. They said suicide. I knew better. Tears slipped down Seraphine's cheeks. Ashford, that's my family name. I know. The moment I heard your name, I knew. Your mother was named after her grandmother, both called Elise. When you climbed into my carriage, I saw her. I saw the same desperate courage. The same choice between dying slowly or living dangerously. I could not fail twice. He looked at the portrait, at Seraphine Bon. When you climbed into my carriage, I saw her. The same choice between dying slowly or living dangerously. I could not fail twice. Before she could respond, running footsteps echoed in the hall. Myra burst in, breathless. Your Majesty, the human king has sent a message. He demands the girl's return. He threatens to tear up the accords if you refuse. He rose. The air around him suddenly edged with frost. Of course he does, he murmured. Fear always shouts when it feels its chain slipping. He turned to Seraphine. You may stay hidden here. I will deal with them. Seraphine felt the old habit tug at her. Let others decide. Hide until it's over. But she had jumped off a cliff yesterday, and she was still falling, still choosing. No, she said, surprised by her own voice. If they're talking about my life, I want to be there. I don't want you to fight for me while I hide. I want to stand beside you and speak for myself. He studied her, then nodded slowly. Very well, but remember, courage does not mean you are not afraid. It means you choose what matters more than fear. He offered his arm. Tomorrow you will face a king and a court. Tonight, rest, prepare. Because when we walk into that throne room, you will need to be stronger than you have ever been. Seraphine took his arm, felt the solid strength beneath the elegant exterior. I can do it, she said. Half to him, half to herself. I know, he replied. That is why I helped you. And my name is Lucian. Lucian, she repeated, testing it. It fit him. I'm Seraphine. I know, he said again. Small smile. Sleep well, Seraphine. Tomorrow you make history. Morning came with a knock on the door. An elderly vampire. Tall, ancient wisdom carved into every line of his face. He looked even older than Lucian, though Seraphine suspected age was measured differently here. His Majesty requests your presence, he said, voice gentle despite the formal words. The human king's messenger arrived at dawn. The hearing is set for noon. Seraphine's stomach dropped. Today? King Aldrich does not waste time when the accords are threatened, he replied. But do not fear. You will not stand alone. I am Orin. I have served Lord Lucian for many centuries. He gestured to the wardrobe. We have prepared appropriate attire. Nothing too grand. You are not trying to impress them. You are trying to make them listen. After he left, Seraphine opened the wardrobe, found a simple dress, deep blue, well-made but not ostentatious, practical boots, a cloak, not a bride, not a beggar, just a woman. She dressed carefully, braided her hair, looked at herself in the mirror. Yesterday she had seen a stranger. Today she saw someone learning to recognize herself. A light breakfast waited in her room. She ate slowly, building strength. When Myra came to collect her, the older woman smiled. You look ready. I don't feel ready. No one ever does, dear. That's the secret. Bravery isn't feeling ready. It's going anyway. They walked through the castle, down to the courtyard where a carriage waited, different from the black one. This one bore Lucian's crest openly, silver and obsidian. A declaration, not a secret. Lucian stood beside it. He had changed too. No longer the mysterious figure in a cloak. Now he wore formal attire, dark jacket, silver buttons, hair pulled back. He looked like exactly what he was, a king. Ready? He asked. No, Seraphine admitted, but I'm going anyway. His mouth quirked. Good answer. Orin joined them. I will accompany you, Your Majesty. The king will expect protocol. They climbed into the carriage, this one lighter, windows uncurtained, nothing to hide. As they rolled toward the city, Lucian spoke quietly. They will try to intimidate you, to make you feel small. Remember, you are not asking for permission. You are claiming what is already yours, your life, your choice. What if I freeze? Seraphine asked. What if I can't find the words? Then I will speak for you, he said. But I do not think you will freeze. I think you will surprise yourself. The city grew closer. Morning sun making the stone buildings glow. People in the streets going about their lives. None of them knowing that in a few hours one girl's testimony might change their world. The carriage pulled up to the palace, guards everywhere, staring, whispering. Lucian stepped out first, offered his hand to Seraphine. She took it, felt every eye on her as she descended. Let them look, let them whisper. She was done hiding. They walked through marble corridors, past tapestries depicting human kings, past portraits of nobles long dead, everything designed to make visitors feel small. Seraphine lifted her chin, kept walking. The throne room doors opened. King Aldrich sat on a throne of carved oak, mid-40s, sharp eyes, the kind of man who missed nothing. Courtiers lined the walls, dressed in silks and velvets, judging, always judging. And there near the front stood Morgana, dressed in black, playing the role of concerned stepmother. Beside her, Lord Dorian, face carefully blank. Morgana's eyes met Seraphine's. Shock flickered, then rage, quickly masked. She had not expected Seraphine to walk in standing tall, to look healthy, cared for, protected. Your Majesty, Lucian bowed, precise, respectful but not subservient. Thank you for granting this audience. King Aldrich studied them both. Lord Lucian, we meet under unusual circumstances. Indeed, Lucian replied, circumstances that demand clarity. Aldrich gestured to Morgana. Lady Morgana has made serious accusations. She claims you abducted her stepdaughter, interfered with a legal marriage contract, violated the spirit of the Accords by harboring a runaway. I claim nothing, Morgana said, voice trembling with false emotion. I only want my daughter back, safe, away from influences that might harm her. Lucian's expression did not change. Influences, an interesting word for protection. Protection? Morgana's voice rose. You took a confused, frightened girl into your domain. A girl who does not understand the consequences of her actions, who was overwhelmed by wedding nerves and made a foolish decision. Murmurs rippled through the courtiers, some nodding, some uncertain. King Aldrich raised a hand. Silence fell. I am more interested in what the girl herself says. He looked directly at Seraphine. Approach. Her heart hammered, but she walked forward, each step measured, steady. State your name. Seraphine Ashford, Your Majesty. And do you claim Lord Lucian abducted you? Here it was, the moment everything balanced on. No, Your Majesty, Seraphine said, voice clear, unwavering. I sought sanctuary. He granted it. That is his right under the Accords. Sanctuary, Aldrich repeated. From what? From a marriage I did not consent to, from a family that treated me as property to be sold. Gasps, whispers, growing louder. Morgana stepped forward. Your Majesty, she is clearly confused. The marriage was arranged for her benefit. Lord Dorian is a respectable match. She should be grateful. Grateful? Seraphine turned to face her stepmother, the woman who had controlled her for 2 years, who had arranged this wedding, who had stood by while she was dragged through streets, the woman she no longer feared. Grateful for what? Seraphine asked. For being called defective and barren in front of 300 people? For being dragged through the streets while citizens threw stones? For being told I should accept a man I do not love, a life I did not choose, all because it served your interests? I was protecting you, Morgana insisted. You are young, naive. You do not understand. I understand perfectly, Seraphine cut her off, something inside her burning bright and clean. I am not against marriage, Your Majesty. I am against being traded like property without my voice mattering. My stepmother arranged my future like a business transaction. She told me I should be grateful. She never once asked what I wanted. She turned back to King Aldrich, to the court, to everyone watching. You arranged my life without asking. And when I finally found the courage to say no, I was publicly humiliated, called broken, defective, dragged through streets like a criminal, all because I dared to choose for myself. Her voice strengthened, filling the throne room. I broke the rules because the rules were breaking me. Silence, complete and total. King Aldrich leaned forward. Strong words. True words, Your Majesty, Seraphine replied. If my life has no value unless I obey, then what kind of life is it? Aldrich's eyes narrowed, not in anger, in thought. Lord Dorian, you have been silent. What say you? Dorian stepped forward. His face was pale, strained. He looked at Seraphine, then at Morgana, then at the floor. Your Majesty, he said quietly, I must confess something. Morgana went rigid. I never wanted this marriage either. The throne room erupted. Aldrich raised his hand again, waited for silence. Dorian continued, voice shaking. Lady Morgana approached me 3 months ago. She knew my family's financial troubles, knew we were drowning in debt. She offered to pay our debts, clear our name, in exchange for marriage to her stepdaughter. That is not unusual, Aldrich said. Arranged marriages often involve such agreements. But she also threatened me, Dorian said. My father borrowed from dangerous people. Lady Morgana bought those debts. She told me if I did not agree to the marriage, she would call them due. My family would be ruined, possibly imprisoned. He looked at Seraphine. I am not proud of what I did at the altar, tearing your veil, acting cruel. But Lady Morgana told me to perform anger, to make the humiliation complete. She said it would make you easier to control afterward. Lies, Morgana shouted. He is lying to save himself. Am I? Dorian reached into his jacket, pulled out folded papers. I have the contracts, the debt transfers, letters in Lady Morgana's hand detailing exactly how I should behave at the wedding, how to break Seraphine's spirit so she would be docile. He handed them to a guard who brought them to King Aldrich. The king read, his expression darkening with each line. Lady Morgana, Aldrich said, voice cold, these documents suggest you manipulated both parties into a marriage neither wanted, used threats and coercion, and orchestrated a public humiliation designed to psychologically damage your own stepdaughter. She is ungrateful. Morgana's mask was cracking. I fed her, housed her, gave her opportunities. And this is how she repays me? By running to monsters? I think, Lucian said quietly, you will find the only monster in this room is the one who tormented a girl for 2 years and called it care. Aldrich held up the papers. These will be investigated thoroughly, but they cast considerable doubt on your claims, Lady Morgana. He looked at Seraphine. You sought sanctuary. It was granted. Under the Accords, Lord Lucian had every right to protect you. Your stepmother's accusations are unfounded. Relief flooded through Seraphine. Her knees almost buckled. However, Aldrich continued, there is the matter of the marriage contract. It was legally binding. Breaking it has consequences. The contract, Lucian said, was signed under duress and false pretenses. Lord Dorian was coerced. Seraphine was never given a choice. It is not valid. Before Aldrich could respond, a commotion erupted at the back of the throne room. A courtier rushed forward, pale, frightened. Your Majesty, the eastern border dispute. The armies are mobilizing. War could break out within days if we do not find a solution. Aldrich's face tightened. I am aware. My advisors have been working on it for weeks. With respect, Your Majesty, the courtier said, they have achieved nothing. The two lords refused to compromise. Aldrich stood. Then I will mediate personally. This hearing is postponed. We will reconvene. Your Majesty, Seraphine heard herself say. May I speak? Every eye turned to her. Aldrich frowned. This is not the time. The dispute is over water rights, Seraphine continued. From the River Marin, Lord Blackwood claims the upstream portion. Lord Ashton claims the Treaty of 1847 gave his family control. Aldrich stared. How do you know this? I read, Your Majesty. My father's library had treaty documents. I studied them when I could not sleep. She took a breath. The Treaty of 1847 does grant rights to the Ashton family, but only to water flowing through natural channels. Article 7, subsection C, states that any man-made diversions must be approved by the Crown and shared equally between bordering estates. Aldrich looked at his advisors. Is this true? The chief advisor fumbled through documents. Read. His eyes widened. Yes, Your Majesty, she is correct. We missed that clause. So the solution, Seraphine said, is simple. Lord Blackwood can build his irrigation channels, but he must allow equal flow to Lord Ashton's lands. The Crown mediates the engineering to ensure fairness. Both lords get what they need. No war necessary. Silence. Then Aldrich began to laugh. Not mockery, genuine amusement and relief. My advisors spent 3 weeks arguing, and this girl solves it in 2 minutes. He looked at her with new respect. You are more than you appear, Seraphine Ashford. People often are, Your Majesty, she replied, when someone bothers to look. Aldrich nodded slowly. Point taken, he gestured to his scribes. Draft the mediation order based on Miss Ashford's suggestion. Send it to both lords immediately. He turned back to Seraphine and Lucian. I see now that you were right to grant sanctuary. This young woman has value beyond what her stepmother recognized. Morgana's face had gone purple with rage. She is still my ward. She is 20 years old, Aldrich interrupted. Old enough to make her own choices. The marriage contract is voided due to coercion. Lord Dorian is released from all obligations. Dorian sagged with relief. As for you, Lady Morgana, Aldrich continued, these documents will be investigated. If they prove true, You will face charges for fraud and coercion. This is not over, Morgana hissed. But she had lost. Everyone could see it. Aldrich declared a recess. The throne room emptied, courtiers whispering, Morgana storming out with guards following to ensure she did not flee. Lucian touched Seraphine's elbow gently. Well done. I was terrified, she admitted. I know, he said. You did it anyway. Dorian approached, hesitant. Miss Ashford, I owe you an apology. I should have refused from the start. I should have found another way. Seraphine looked at him, saw genuine regret. You were trapped too, I understand. Thank you, he said quietly. I hope you find happiness, real happiness, not the kind sold in contracts. He bowed and left. Orrin appeared at Lucian's side. Your Majesty, King Aldrich requests a private word. He is in the council chamber. They followed Orrin through side corridors, away from the crowds, to a smaller room where Aldrich waited alone. Lord Lucian, Miss Ashford, he gestured to chairs. Sit, please, this is not a formal audience. They sat. Aldrich poured wine, offered it. Lucian accepted. Seraphine declined. I wanted to speak plainly, Aldrich said, away from courtiers and politics. What you did today was remarkable, Miss Ashford. You stood before a hostile court and spoke truth. Then you solved a problem my best minds could not. I just read books, Your Majesty. You did more than that. You saw solutions where others saw only conflict. He paused. I would like to offer you a position. Court advisor, help me navigate these disputes. The nobles respect strength. You have that. And intelligence. Seraphine blinked, stunned. Your Majesty, I am honored, but I do not think I am qualified. You are more qualified than most, Aldrich said. Think about it. You do not have to answer now. He turned to Lucian. And you, thank you for not letting this become a political disaster. The accords are fragile enough without adding fuel to the fire. I protect those who need protecting, Lucian replied. The accords exist to prevent exactly what Lady Morgana attempted. Forced submission, violation of will. Agreed, Aldrich said. Which brings me to my real question. What happens now? Miss Ashford cannot return to her stepmother, and while I respect the sanctuary you provided, she cannot live in your castle indefinitely. People will talk, rumors will spread. She stays as long as she wishes, Lucian said firmly, as my guest, under my protection. Anyone who questions that answers to me. Aldrich raised an eyebrow. Protective of her, are you? Lucian's expression did not change. I am protective of anyone who shows courage. Fair enough, Aldrich stood. I will make a formal announcement. Seraphine Ashford is under crown protection as well as yours. Her stepmother is under investigation. Anyone who harms her faces royal justice. He looked at Seraphine. You are safe, legally, politically, but be careful. Morgana may be cornered, but cornered animals are dangerous. I understand, Your Majesty, thank you. They left the palace, returned to the carriage. As soon as they were inside and moving, Seraphine let out a long, shaking breath. I cannot believe I just did that. You were magnificent, Lucian said. I wanted to run, to hide, to let you speak for me. But you did not. That is what matters. Orrin smiled. His Majesty is right. You have a gift, Miss Ashford. Not just intelligence. The rarest gift of all is the courage to use it. Back at Shadowville, Seraphine went to her room, changed into simpler clothes, tried to process everything that had happened. A soft knock. Lucian's voice. May I enter? Yes, he stepped in, carrying a book. I thought you might like this, since you enjoy reading treaties. She took it. A history of the Accords, how humans and vampires had come to peace after centuries of war. Thank you, she said. Lucian, why are you doing all this? Really? He sat in the chair by the fireplace. I told you about your grandmother, but there is more. When I gave her back to her family, I told myself I was following the rules, being responsible. But the truth is I was afraid of change, of standing up to a system that benefited me. His hands clenched. She died because I was a coward. I have lived with that for 25 years. I will not be a coward again. You are not a coward, Seraphine said softly. You saved me. I did what I should have done a quarter century ago. It does not erase my failure, but perhaps it begins to balance the scales. She sat across from him. Do you think she would forgive you? I do not know, he said honestly, but I hope so, because I cannot forgive myself yet. They sat in comfortable silence, fire crackling, rain beginning to fall outside. Over the next few days, Seraphine settled into a rhythm, Mornings in the library, learning about vampire culture, their laws, their history. Afternoons, she helped Orn with administrative work. Evenings, she walked the castle grounds with Lucian. They talked about everything. His long life, her short one, philosophy, politics, books, dreams. She learned he loved music but could not play, that he missed sunrise, that he had not laughed genuinely in decades before she arrived. He learned she had wanted to study law, that her mother had died when she was 5, that she had been lonely in a house full of people. Slowly something grew between them, quiet, fragile, precious. One evening as they walked through the gardens, Lucian stopped. "Seraphine, there is something I need to tell you." His serious tone made her nervous. "What is it?" "The royal blood memory gene you carry. It is incredibly rare and incredibly valuable, not just to me, to all vampires." "I do not understand," he explained carefully. "When a vampire with the right training drank blood from someone with the gene, they could access ancestral memories. Wisdom from humans long dead. Solutions to problems thought unsolvable. It has saved my people countless times," he said, "but it requires trust, consent. The human must willingly allow it. Force breaks the connection." "You want to drink my blood?" Seraphine's heart raced, but not entirely from fear. "Only if you agree," he said quickly. "Only if you understand and consent." "I would never. I trust you," she said, and realized it was true. His eyes widened. "You barely know me." "I know enough. You protected me, respected me, never demanded, only asked." She took a breath. "What would it feel like?" "Strange at first, then peaceful. I have been told it is not unpleasant." "Then I agree. If it helps you, helps your people, I want to do it." "Not yet," he said. "When the time is right, when there is true need. For now, just knowing you would consider it is enough." They continued walking. His hand brushed hers. She did not pull away. Days became a week, then 2. Messages arrived from the capital. King Aldrich had sent investigators to examine Morgana's finances. What they found shocked even the hardened auditors. Morgana had been embezzling from the Ashford estate for 2 years, draining accounts, selling properties, amassing wealth while claiming poverty. The marriage to Dorian had been the final step. Control both families, disappear with the money. But more disturbing, they found medical documents, real ones, sealed, marked confidential. Seraphine was not barren, had never been barren. The physicians Morgana brought to testify had been paid to lie, to produce false reports, all designed to make Seraphine seem worthless, defective, easy to discard. When Myra brought her the news, Seraphine sat in stunned silence. "She lied," Seraphine whispered. "She told everyone I was broken, made me believe it myself." "She is a monster," Myra said gently. "But the truth is out now. Everyone knows." "Why stop on?" Seraphine asked. "Why go to such lengths?" "Control," Lucian said from the doorway. He had heard. "If you believed you were worthless, you would accept anything. Be grateful for scraps. Never question. Never resist." "It almost worked," Seraphine said. "But it did not," he replied. "You are stronger than she ever understood." That night, Seraphine could not sleep. She wandered the castle, found herself in the library, looking again at her grandmother's portrait. "I wish I had known you," she whispered to the painting. "I wish you had been saved too." "She would be proud of you." Lucian stood in the shadows, stepped into the light. "I think about her every day," he admitted, "about what I could have done differently." "You cannot change the past," Seraphine said. "But you changed my future. That matters." He moved closer. "You matter. More than you know." The air between them hummed. Electric, dangerous, full of possibility. "Lucian," she said softly. "I—" A scream shattered the night, high, terrified, coming from the east wing. They ran through corridors, following the sound. Other vampires emerged, guards, servants, all converging. In one of the guest rooms they found Chaos, an ancient vampire, one of the eldest in the citadel, thrashing, screaming, eyes wild. He did not recognize anyone, did not know where he was. "Madness," Oren said grimly. "The mind sickness. It happens sometimes to the very old. They lose themselves in the centuries. Forget what is real." The vampire lashed out, inhumanly strong. It took 5 guards to restrain him. "Can he be cured?" Seraphine asked. "Rarely," Oren said, "unless we can anchor his mind, give him something to hold on to." "The ancestral memories," Lucian said suddenly. He looked at Seraphine. "If I could access his bloodline's history, show him his own past, It might bring him back. But he is too far gone, Orin said. He would not consent. And without consent, I consent, Seraphine said. Use my blood. Access his memories. Save him. Seraphine, it is dangerous, Lucian warned. Channeling memories from a mind in chaos. It could harm you. Or it could save him, she countered. You said the blood gene was valuable. This is why. This is the good it can do. Lucian looked torn, then nodded. Very well, but carefully, slowly. If anything feels wrong, we stop immediately. They brought the mad vampire to the healing chamber. Strapped him to a table. Not cruel, just safe. Seraphine sat beside him, Lucian across from her. Give me your hand, Lucian said. She did. He examined her wrist, found the vein. This will hurt for a moment, then feel strange, then peaceful. Stay with me. Focus on my voice. Well, I trust you, she said again. He bit, quick, clean. Not the savage attack of stories. Precise, controlled. A doctor's touch. Pain flared, sharp, then fading, replaced by something warm. Spreading through her veins like liquid light. Her vision blurred, the room fading, replaced by images. Memories, not hers. A battlefield. Centuries ago. The vampire when he was young. Fighting for his king. Blood and honor. A wedding. His wedding. To a human woman. Love shining in both their eyes. Children. Laughter. A life lived long and full. Loss. His wife aging. Dying. Him remaining. The ache of immortality. Centuries blurring. Faces. Places. Too many to count. Until nothing made sense anymore. Until he was drowning in time. Seraphine felt Lucian beside her. Guiding. Showing the mad vampire his own history. Reminding him who he was. What he had lived. What mattered. The thrashing slowed. The screaming stopped. The ancient vampire's eyes cleared. He looked around. Confused but present. What happened? You were lost, Lucian said gently. We brought you back. The vampire looked at Seraphine, at her wrist where Lucian had drunk. You saved me. We all did, she said. Weak, dizzy, but alive. Lucian released her wrist, the wound already closing. Vampire healing magic in his saliva sealing it. Rest, he told her. You gave much. They carried her back to her room, tucked her into bed. Myra brought warm broth. Lucian sat beside her until she fell asleep, his cool hand on her forehead, soothing. When she woke, it was evening again. Voices outside her door. The entire castle is talking about it, Orin said. How she saved Elder Marcus. How her blood brought him back from madness. She could have been hurt, Lucian replied, but she was not. And now every vampire in the citadel knows her value. She is not just a human under your protection. She is one who saves our people. Seraphine sat up, her head still light, but she felt good, strong, like she had done something that mattered. She dressed, went to find them. Lucian stood when she entered. You should be resting. I have rested enough. Is Elder Marcus well? Completely recovered, Orin said. Thanks to you. He wants to thank you personally. I did not do it for thanks. I did it because it was right. And that, Lucian said softly, is precisely why you are extraordinary. Over the next days, Seraphine's reputation in the castle grew. Vampires who had been wary of a human now greeted her with respect, nodded, smiled. Some even bowed. She was no longer just a runaway bride. She was a healer, a bridge, someone valuable in her own right. The news reached the capital. King Aldrich sent word. He wanted to meet again, discuss her role, her future. But before they could make plans, another message arrived. From Morgana, she demanded a meeting, claimed she had evidence that would change everything, insisted Seraphine and Lucian attend. It is a trap, Orin said immediately. Of course it is, Lucian agreed. But we must know what she thinks she has, what cards she thinks she can still play. Then I am coming, Seraphine said. If this is about me, I should be there. King Aldrich agreed to host the meeting. Neutral ground, guaranteed safety, witnesses. They gathered in the throne room again, but this time everything was different. This time Seraphine walked in not as a frightened girl, but as someone who had proven her worth, who had saved a life, who had stood before kings and spoken truth. Morgana looked older, thinner, desperation carved into her face. Thank you for coming, she said. Voice brittle, false sweetness. State your business, King Aldrich said, and be quick. My patience with you is exhausted. Morgana pulled out a document. I have proof that Lord Lucian coerced Seraphine, that he used vampire magic to cloud her mind, to make her compliant. She is under his thrall. Gasps, murmurs. Lucian's expression did not change. That is a lie. Does it? Morgana held up the paper. I have a physician's report stating that thrall victims show specific signs Seraphine displays. What physician? Aldrich demanded. Dr. Matthias Cole, a respected expert on vampire influence. Aldrich gestured. A guard took the document, brought it forward. The king read, omnipotent. His face darkened. This document claims Miss Ashford shows signs of mental manipulation, specifically unusual attachment to Lord Lucian, defending him when she should fear him, willingness to let him drink her blood. He looked at Seraphine. Is this true? Did you allow him to drink your blood? Yes, Seraphine said clearly, to save Elder Marcus, the vampire who was lost to madness. I consented freely. No coercion. That is what thrall victims say, Morgana interjected. They believe they are acting freely, but they are puppets. Enough, Lucian said, voice cold as winter. I have never used thrall magic on Seraphine, or on anyone without just cause and legal approval. Can you prove that? Morgana challenged. Can you prove otherwise? Lucian countered. One document from a physician you likely paid? Like you paid the ones who lied about her being barren? Morgana's smile sharpened. Actually, I can. I request formal testing, right now, before this court. If Seraphine is under thrall, the testing will reveal it. If she is not, I will withdraw all claims and submit to judgment. Aldrich considered. This is irregular, but necessary, Morgana pressed. If a vampire is using mind control on humans, the accords demand investigation. Aldrich looked at Lucian. What say you? I say test her, Lucian replied. Prove to everyone that Morgana is lying, again. Very well. Bring the testing equipment. Seraphine's heart raced. She had no idea what the test involved, but she trusted Lucian, trusted herself. They brought in a device, crystal and silver, ancient magic woven into metal. Orin explained quietly. It detects foreign magical influence on the mind. If Lord Lucian had thralled you, it would show as dark smoke in the crystal. If your will is your own, it remains clear. They placed the crystal against Seraphine's temple. It hummed, glowed faintly. Everyone watched, held breath. The crystal remained clear, pure, no darkness, no smoke. She is not thralled, the tester announced. Her mind is completely her own. Relief flooded through Seraphine, through the room. Morgana's face went white, then red. Impossible, the doctor said. The doctor lied, Aldrich said flatly, like everyone you have paid to lie. Lady Morgana, you are under arrest for fraud, coercion, embezzlement, and now falsifying evidence against a vampire lord. Guards moved forward. Morgana backed away. You do not understand. She is valuable. Her blood, he wants her for that. He is using her. I am using nothing, Lucian said. She gives freely, because that is what free people do. They choose. Morgana lunged then, not at the guards, at Seraphine, a knife appearing from her sleeve, small, sharp, poison green on the blade. Time slowed. Lucian moved, faster than human eyes could follow. He caught Morgana's wrist, twisted. The knife clattered to the floor. You lose, he said quietly. You have lost everything. Your fortune, your reputation, your freedom. And it is because you never understood one simple truth. People are not property. Morgana sagged, broken. The guards took her away, her screams echoing through the marble halls. Seraphine stood there, shaking, Lucian's hand on her shoulder, steadying her. It is over, he said. She cannot hurt you anymore. The knife lay on the marble floor, small, deadly, the blade still wet with poison that would have killed Seraphine in minutes. Morgana's screams faded down the corridor, guards dragging her toward the palace dungeons, her careful mask shattered, her true face finally visible to everyone. Seraphine stared at that knife, at how close death had come, how thin the line between her standing here and lying on cold stone. Lucian's hand remained on her shoulder, steady, grounding. Breathe, he said softly. You are safe. She breathed, deep, shaking, but alive. King Aldrich dismissed the court, ordered privacy. Only a handful remained. The king, Lucian, Orin, Seraphine, and Lord Dorian, who had gone pale as snow. That poison, Dorian whispered. Banefire extract. Where did she get banefire extract? That, Aldrich said grimly, is an excellent question. Banefire is controlled. Illegal to possess without crown authorization. Its only purpose is to kill vampires. He looked at Lucian. She came prepared to commit murder, not just fraud, murder. She came prepared to eliminate anyone who stood between her and wealth, Lucian replied. Seraphine, myself, anyone but her. Aldrich called his guards. I want Lady Morgana's residence searched. Every room, every hidden space. Find out what else she has been hiding. The guards bowed and left. Seraphine found her voice. Your Majesty, may I ask something? Of course. The physician, Dr. Matthias Cole, the one who provided the false thrall report. He is also the one who declared me barren originally. I remember now. He examined me 3 months ago, said I could never bear children. And we know that was a lie, Aldrich said. But what if there are others, Seraphine continued. What if Morgana paid him to lie about other women, to declare them defective, barren, worthless? How many other girls were ruined by false diagnoses? Silence fell, heavy, terrible. Aldrich's face hardened. Find Dr. Cole. Bring him here. Now. Within the hour, they had him, a nervous man, thin, sweating despite the cool palace air. Dr. Cole, Aldrich said, voice like iron, you provided a medical report stating Miss Ashford showed signs of vampire thrall. Was that diagnosis accurate? I believed it to be, Your Majesty. Believed. Interesting word. Not confirmed, not proven. Believed. The doctor swallowed. Lady Morgana brought me compelling evidence. Lady Morgana is now in prison awaiting trial for multiple crimes, including attempted murder. Aldrich interrupted. I suggest you think very carefully about where your loyalties lie. Dr. Cole crumbled. She paid me 500 gold to write the report, to make it seem legitimate. And the barren diagnosis? Seraphine asked. 3 months ago. Was that real? The doctor would not meet her eyes. No, you were perfectly healthy, fully capable of bearing children. But Lady Morgana wanted you declared defective. She said it would make you more manageable. Rage flashed through Seraphine, white hot and clean. How many others? What? How many other women did you lie about? How many girls were told they were broken when they were not? The doctor's hands shook. 7, over the past 2 years, all at Lady Morgana's request. She would find young women, usually by ones with inheritances or connections she wanted to control. Have me declare them barren or mentally unfit. Then arrange marriages where she could benefit. 7, Seraphine repeated, the number settling like stones in her stomach. 7 lives ruined. I had debts, the doctor pleaded. She offered money. I did not think— No, Aldrich cut him off. You did not think. You destroyed lives for gold. Dr. Matthias Cole, you are hereby stripped of your medical license. Your assets will be seized to provide compensation to your victims, and you will spend the next 10 years in prison contemplating the harm you caused. Guards dragged him away, still protesting, still making excuses. Aldrich turned to Seraphine. We will find the other women, offer them the truth, medical care, restitution. This corruption ends now. Thank you, Your Majesty, Seraphine said. Throat tight. Do not thank me. You uncovered this. Your question, your courage. He paused. Morgana's trial is in 3 days. I suspect there will be more revelations before this is finished. He was right. The search of Morgana's residence uncovered a horror show. Hidden ledgers documenting years of embezzlement, forged documents, blackmail material on dozens of nobles. And in a locked box beneath her bed, 3 more vials of banefire poison, enough to kill a dozen vampires. She was planning something larger, Orange said, examining the vials. This amount of poison does not accumulate by accident. She had a purpose. Deeper investigation revealed letters, correspondence with a radical human faction, a group that wanted to dissolve the Accords, drive vampires out or destroy them entirely. Morgana had been feeding them information, vampire movements, security weaknesses, in exchange for money and support. She was not just a greedy stepmother. She was a traitor to the peace. 3 days later, the Grand Hall filled to capacity. Nobles, merchants, common citizens, all crammed in to witness the trial of Lady Morgana Ashford. She stood in chains, no longer the elegant noble, no longer the concerned stepmother, just a woman who had gambled everything and lost. King Aldrich presided. Lady Morgana Ashford, you stand accused of embezzlement, fraud, coercion, forgery, conspiracy against the Accords, possession of illegal substances, and attempted murder. How do you plead? Morgana lifted her chin. One last attempt at dignity. Not guilty. Then we shall proceed with evidence. For 3 hours they presented it, every document, every ledger, every forged signature. Lord Dorian testified about the blackmail, Dr. Cole about the false diagnoses. The 7 other women came forward, told their stories, how Morgana had ruined them for profit. Seraphine watched it all, sitting in the front row, Lucian beside her, each revelation a piece of the puzzle falling into place. Finally, the prosecutor called Seraphine herself. She stood, walked to the witness stand, every eye on her. Miss Ashford, the prosecutor began, please tell the court about your relationship with Lady Morgana. Seraphine took a breath. She married my father 2 years after my mother died. I was 6 years old. For the first few years, she was distant, cold, but not cruel. When did that change? When my father became ill 3 years ago, he had been sick for months. The doctors said it was his heart, weak, failing. He died slowly. And Lady Morgana's behavior during this time? She was attentive, caring. Everyone praised her devotion. Seraphine's voice hardened, but I noticed things, how she controlled his medicine, how she dismissed servants who questioned her, how quickly she took over his financial affairs. Are you suggesting Lady Morgana contributed to your father's death? I am stating facts. My father's illness began shortly after she convinced him to sign over power of attorney. He died 6 months later. She inherited everything. Morgana shot to her feet. That is slander. I loved him. I cared for him. Did you? Seraphine asked, looking directly at her stepmother. Because after he died, you sold his favorite horse, dismissed his loyal servants, erased him from the house as if he never existed. That does not seem like love. I was grieving in my own way. You were celebrating, Seraphine said quietly. I saw you, the night after the funeral, counting money in his study, smiling. The courtroom erupted. Aldrich called for order. The prosecutor continued. Miss Ashford, did Lady Morgana ever physically harm you? Not directly, but she created an environment where I was constantly diminished, told I was worthless, stupid, a burden. She controlled what I ate, what I wore, who I spoke to. I was a prisoner in my own home. And the marriage to Lord Dorian? She arranged it without my knowledge. The first I heard of it was when she informed me the contracts were signed. I had no choice. What did you do? I refused, at the altar, in front of everyone. Seraphine's voice strengthened, and she punished me, had me dragged through streets, called defective, barren, humiliated publicly, all because I dared to say no. One final question. Do you believe Lady Morgana acted alone in these crimes? Seraphine considered. I believe she was the architect, but she had help, people she paid, manipulated, who said, she is brilliant at finding weaknesses and exploiting them. Thank you, Miss Ashford. Seraphine returned to her seat. Lucian's hand found hers, squeezed gently. The prosecutor called one more witness, a servant from the Ashford estate, an older woman, nervous, scared. State your name. Clara Hastings. I was head housekeeper for Lord Ashford. How long did you serve the family? 30 years, since before Miss Seraphine was born. And you were dismissed by Lady Morgana? Yes, 2 weeks after Lord Ashford's death. She said the household needed restructuring. Why do you think you were really dismissed? Clara hesitated, looked at Morgana, then at Seraphine. Because I saw something the night Lady Seraphine's mother died. The courtroom went silent, absolutely silent. Please explain, the prosecutor said gently. It was 15 years ago. The First Lady Elise, Seraphine's mother, named after her own mother who had passed years before. She was healthy, young, but she fell down the main staircase, broke her neck, died instantly. An accident? That is what we were told. But I was in the hallway that night, putting away linens. I saw Lady Morgana at the top of the stairs. Saw her speaking with Lady Elise. They were arguing. About what? I could not hear clearly, but then Lady Elise turned to walk away. And Lady Morgana, Clara's voice broke. She pushed, just a small push, but enough. You saw Lady Morgana push Lady Elise down the stairs? Yes, I ran to help, but it was too late. Lady Elise was gone. Why did you not report this? Clara's hands twisted together. I tried, I told the constable, but Lady Morgana said I was mistaken. Grieving, seeing things, and then she offered me money, a lot of money, to stay quiet, to forget. And you took it. Yes. Tears ran down Clara's face. I took it. I have lived with that shame every day since. But when I heard about this trial, I knew I had to speak. For Lady Elise, for Miss Seraphine, for the truth. The courtroom exploded, voices shouting, people standing, chaos. Seraphine sat frozen. Her mother, murdered. Not an accident. Murdered by the woman who would later marry her father. Lucian's arm wrapped around her shoulders, holding her together as her world reshaped itself. King Aldrich slammed his gavel, again, finally achieving silence. Lady Morgana, he said, voice terrible in its calm, do you have anything to say to this testimony? Morgana stood, her face a mask of rage and desperation. She is lying, a disgruntled servant seeking revenge. Then why, Aldrich asked, do the dates align? The first Lady Elise Ashford, the grandmother, died 25 years ago. The second Lady Elise, Seraphine's mother, named after her grandmother, died 15 years ago. You married Lord Ashford 14 years ago, less than a year after his wife's death. Remarkably fast for someone who supposedly had no prior connection to the family. We met during his mourning. I provided comfort. You murdered his wife, Seraphine said, standing, voice ringing through the hall. You killed my mother, took her place, controlled my father, stole everything. And when I was the last obstacle, you tried to destroy me too. You have no proof, Morgana shrieked. I have 15 years of lies, Seraphine replied. 15 years of you pretending, playing the devoted wife, the concerned stepmother. But I remember I was 5 years old when my mother died. I remember her laugh, her kindness. I remember the funeral where you stood in the back, not grieving, watching, calculating. She stepped forward. You took everything from me, my mother, my father, my home, my reputation. You tried to take my future, my freedom, my life. Seraphine's voice dropped, became cold, certain. But you failed, because I am stronger than you ever understood. I am my mother's daughter, and she would not want me to stay silent. The hall erupted in applause. Aldrich did not stop it. Let it ring, let it grow. When it finally quieted, he stood. Lady Morgana Ashford, the evidence against you is overwhelming. The testimony damning. This court finds you guilty on all charges. No, Morgana whispered. For the crime of murder, you are sentenced to death. For treason against the accords, your name will be struck from all records. Your property seized, your legacy erased. No, you will be executed at dawn, 3 days hence, in the public square, so that all may see that justice, though sometimes slow, is inevitable. Guards seized Morgana. She fought, screamed, cursed. They dragged her from the hall, her voice echoing long after she disappeared. Seraphine stood there, trembling. Everything inside her breaking and reforming at once. Her mother had been murdered. The woman she barely remembered, killed by the monster who raised her. Lucian was there, arms around her, holding her as she finally cried. Not from fear, not from shame, from grief. For the mother she lost, the father who never knew the truth, the 15 years of lies. She cried until there was nothing left, until the tears ran dry and only exhaustion remained. Come, Lucian said gently. Let us go home. Home, Shadowvale, the castle that had become her sanctuary, her haven, her place. They returned in silence, Seraphine curled against Lucian in the carriage, his cool presence soothing, anchoring. At the castle, Myra had warm soup waiting, soft blankets, a fire burning. Rest, child, she said. You have been strong for so long. Rest now. Seraphine slept, deep, dreamless. When she woke, a full day had passed. She found Lucian in the library, reading. He looked up when she entered. How are you? I do not know, she admitted. Everything feels different, like the world shifted and I am still finding my balance. That is normal. You learn terrible truths. They will take time to process. She sat beside him. Did you know about my mother? No, if I had, I would have told you, protected you from it differently. He paused, but I am not surprised. Morgana was capable of anything. She killed for money, for position, for power. Yes, and she will pay for it. Seraphine looked at her hands. I should feel satisfied. Justice is being served, but I just feel empty. Justice does not always feel like victory, Lucian said quietly. Sometimes it just feels like the bleeding finally stopped. The healing comes later. They sat in silence, the fire crackling, rain beginning to fall outside. Lucian, Seraphine said, what happens now? After the execution? After this is truly over? That depends on you. What do you want? She thought about it, really thought. I want to matter, to do something good, something that helps people. I do not want my mother's death to be meaningless, or my survival. King Aldrich offered you a position, court advisor, bridge between humans and vampires. I know, but that is his offer, his choice. She looked at Lucian. What do you want? He met her gaze, held it. I want you to be happy, free, safe, whatever form that takes. And if I choose to stay here, at Shadowvale, then you stay, as long as you wish. As what? A guest? A refugee? What am I to you, Lucian? The question hung between them, heavy, important. Lucian set his book aside, turned to face her fully. You are the first person in centuries who has made me remember why immortality might be a gift instead of a curse. You are brave and brilliant and kind. You save people. You speak truth. You make me want to be better than I am. He reached out, took her hand. You are everything, Seraphine, if you will let yourself be. Her breath caught. I am just a girl who ran from a wedding. No, you are a woman who chose herself, who stood before kings, who saved lives with her blood and her courage. You are extraordinary. I am scared, she whispered, of what I feel, of what this might mean. I am scared too, he admitted. I have lived 900 years. Loved before, lost before. The thought of losing you, his jaw clenched. It terrifies me. Then why risk it? Because, he said simply, you are worth the risk, worth the fear, worth everything. Seraphine felt tears building again, but different ones. Not grief, something warmer, brighter. I think I am falling in love with you, she said, and that should be impossible. You are a vampire, a king, centuries old. I am 20, human, ordinary. You are many things, Lucian replied. Ordinary is not one of them. He lifted her hand, kissed her palm, gentle, reverent. I am falling in love with you too. Have been since you climbed into my carriage with mud on your dress and fire in your eyes. I am falling and I do not want to stop. What do we do? She asked. We take our time. We let this grow naturally. We do not rush, and his thumb traced circles on her wrist. I have waited 900 years. I can wait however long you need. What if I said I am ready now? He pulled her close. Then I would ask you to be sure, very sure. Because once I claim you fully, I will not let you go easily. You would be mine, and I would be yours for as long as you live. And after, when I age and you do not, when I am old and you are still young, I will love every version of you, he said. Young, old, everything in between. Time will take your body eventually, but not your spirit, not your brilliance, not the things that make you you. Seraphine leaned forward, hesitated. May I kiss you? You may do anything you wish, Lucian replied. Always. She kissed him, soft at first, testing, then deeper. His arms wrapped around her, pulling her close. Cool skin, warm heart. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. I want to stay, Seraphine said. Here, with you. I want to take King Aldrich's position. Build bridges, help people. But I want this to be home. I want you to be home. Then stay, Lucian said. Stay and build and grow and love. Stay and be everything you are meant to be. The 3 days passed. Seraphine did not attend Morgana's execution. She did not need to see it, did not need that final image. But she heard the bells toll at dawn, heard the city fall silent, heard the single cheer when justice was done. Morgana was gone. Truly. Finally. Gone. A week later, King Aldrich summoned them, not for a trial, for a celebration. The evidence Lady Morgana tried to hide has allowed us to help her other victims, he announced to a gathered council. 7 women have been given medical treatment, their reputations restored, compensation provided. 3 have married. 4 have chosen education and careers. All are free. He looked at Seraphine. Because of you, your courage, your questions. I just wanted truth, she said. Truth is never just truth, Aldrich replied. It is freedom, for everyone it touches. He held up a scroll. I am issuing a new law, effective immediately. No marriage in this kingdom shall be valid without clear, spoken consent from both parties. Witnessed, recorded, undeniable. Applause rippled through the council chamber. Furthermore, Aldrich continued, forced medical diagnoses designed to manipulate or control will be considered assault, punishable by imprisonment and loss of medical license. More applause. And finally, he smiled at Seraphine, I am establishing a new position, ambassador of the Accord, someone who understands both human and vampire worlds, who can mediate, educate, build peace. He handed her the scroll. Seraphine Ashford, will you accept? She took it, read the formal language, the responsibilities, the authority. I will, Your Majesty, on one condition. Name it. I want to find more people like me, humans with rare blood, who could help vampires, and vampires willing to protect humans who need sanctuary. Build a real network, real cooperation. Aldrich considered, then nodded. Approved. You will have funding, support, whatever you need. Seraphine smiled. Then I accept. That evening, Lucian found her on the balcony overlooking the valley, stars scattered across the black sky like diamonds. Ambassador, he said, quite a title. It feels strange. A month ago, I was nothing. Now you are changing the world. She leaned against the railing. Lucian, there is something I need to tell you. He tensed. What is it? I went to a physician today. A real one. Not paid by anyone. Just to be sure. Sure of what? She turned to face him, took his hands. I am not barren. Morgana lied. We knew that, but I wanted confirmation. Wanted to know for certain. And I am perfectly healthy, fully capable of bearing children. She paused. If I chose to, someday, with the right person. Understanding dawned in his eyes. Seraphine, I am not saying now, I am not saying soon, but someday, if we choose it, we could have a family. A Dampier child, he said softly. Half human, half vampire. It is rare, difficult, but possible. Would you want that? With you? He pulled her close. I would want everything. A family, a future, a life full and bright and real. She rested her head against his chest. Then let us build it, slowly, carefully, together. He kissed the top of her head. Together. Then he stepped back, looked at her, really looked, and slowly, deliberately, he knelt. Seraphine's breath stopped. Seraphine Ashford, he said, voice shaking slightly. I have lived 9 centuries, seen empires rise and fall, loved and lost, and learned to be alone. Then you climbed into my carriage, shaking, afraid, brave beyond measure. He pulled a small box from his pocket, opened it. Inside, a ring, not traditional, a band of silver woven with obsidian. Elegant, unique, perfect. You have changed me, changed my world, made me remember why existing can be the same as living. I do not know how many years you will have, 50, 60, 70 if we are blessed, but I want every single one of them. His voice steadied, became certain. Will you marry me? Not because of contracts or duty or obligation, but because we choose each other every day for as long as we both shall live. Seraphine looked at him. This man who had saved her, protected her, loved her without trying to own her. Yes, she said, smiled through tears. Yes, 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring on her finger, stood, kissed her, deep, full of promise and hope and future. I love you, he whispered against her lips. I love you too. They married a month later, small ceremony, close friends, nothing like the cathedral disaster. This time, Seraphine wore a dress she chose. Simple, elegant, blue like twilight. This time, when the priest asked, do you accept? She said, I do, with her whole heart. This time she married for love. Not duty, not obligation. Love. King Aldrich attended, blessed their union as both a human wedding and a vampire bonding, witnessed by both worlds. Orrin cried. Actual tears. First time in 1,700 years, he claimed. Myra baked a cake that could feed the entire castle. And somewhere Seraphine felt certain her mother and grandmother both smiled. Time continued. Seasons changed. 6 months after the wedding, Seraphine stood in her office at Shadowville. Papers spread across her desk. Proposals for the Sanctuary Network. Letters from women seeking help. Requests for mediation between human and vampire communities. Her hand rested on her growing belly. 6 months along, healthy, thriving. The doctors monitored carefully. Dampier pregnancies were rare and complicated, but so far, everything was perfect. How are you feeling? Lucian asked. He asked every day, multiple times. Good, tired, but good. He kissed her forehead. You are radiant. I am huge. You are carrying our child. That makes you perfect. 2 years after that, Seraphine rocked her daughter in the nursery. Elise, named after both her mother and her great-grandmother. The women who had deserved better, who had gotten justice through Seraphine's courage. Elise had Seraphine's dark hair, Lucian's wine-colored eyes, and a spirit that promised to be a perfect blend of both. She is perfect, Lucian said from the doorway. She is, Seraphine agreed, and she will grow up free, loved, with choices. Because of you. Everything good in my life is because of you. Seraphine smiled. We saved each other. That is what love does. 20 years later, on an evening that mirrored the night Seraphine first ran, a young woman stumbled through the rain, terrified, desperate, running from something or someone. A black carriage waited at the end of an alley. Perfect, pristine, impossible. The girl hesitated. She had heard the stories everyone had. The sanctuary carriage, the runaway queen, the vampire king who protected those brave enough to choose themselves. She grabbed the handle. The door opened. Inside, a woman sat, no longer young, perhaps 45, but strong, confident, kind eyes. It is safe, the woman said gently. If you need sanctuary, it is yours. The girl stared. You are the runaway queen. The stories are true, everyone. Seraphine smiled. Come. No one will hurt you here. No one will force you. You have choices. Always choices. The girl climbed in. Seraphine wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. Across from them, Lucian sat, waiting, just as he had waited all those years ago. Another one? He asked softly. Another one, Seraphine confirmed. She turned to the girl, saw herself, young, scared, brave despite the fear. What is your name? Arya. Arya, I am Seraphine. This is my husband, Lucien. You are under our protection now. Tomorrow we will help you figure out what comes next. Tonight you rest. You heal. You remember that you are worth saving. The girl began to cry. Relief, fear, hope, all tangled together. Seraphine held her, let her cry, remembered someone doing the same for her. The carriage rolled toward Shadowvale, toward safety, toward home. Myra waited at the gates, older now. Hair white as snow, but same kind eyes, same warm smile. Welcome home, she said to Seraphine, then to Arya. And welcome, child. You are safe now. When Arya finally slept in the same room Seraphine had once used, Seraphine and Lucien's stood together on their balcony, overlooking the valley, the stars, the world they had helped reshape. How many now? Lucien asked. How many have we helped? I stopped counting, Seraphine said. After 100, every single one matters. She leaned against him, his arms wrapped around her, still strong, still safe. Do you ever regret it? He asked. Climbing into my carriage that night? Everything that came after? Seraphine thought about it. The fear, the pain, the struggle, the growth, the love, the family, the purpose. Not for a second, she said. That night, I chose myself. And that choice led to everything else. Every good thing. Every person saved. Every life changed. She turned in his arms, looked up at him. Thank you, she said, for opening that door, for asking instead of demanding, for loving me exactly as I am. Thank you, he replied, for being brave, for teaching me that change is possible, for giving me a reason to exist beyond mere survival. They kissed, under the stars, rain falling softly, and in the distance, the black carriage waited, ready for the next frightened soul who needed sanctuary, ready to offer the same choice Seraphine had been given, the choice to be free. Sasem. They called her defective, they called her barren, they called her worthless, but she called herself free, and that made all the difference.